What is going on, soccer card fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a video on bear market tips and tricks that I'm using for managing what is a bear market for soccer cards at the moment. Obviously, when the market's down, people aren't going to be as excited to go out and do all the things that they were doing in the card market before, because inherently that's the way people operate, and that's kind of why cycles do the thing that they do, right? So it maybe motivates you a little bit during a time where it could be very beneficial to do so. So let's go ahead and get on into it. As far as the first tip towards how to navigate the market right now, fundamentals are key. That's what we're finding out, and that's what should have always been, to be honest. Realistically, over the last couple years when cards really blew up, a lot of fundamentals were kind of thrown out. I'll list some up on the left-hand side that you can see here, which include true rarity, eye appeal, demand, how unique something is, condition rarity, history, lineage, etc. Basically, there are tons of components that really make you want to go out and get a card. There's tons of different reasons that you could do that. And this last year, or I guess 2 years, 3 years, really however long it's been for cards, a lot of the reason that that has happened has been people just go out and get cards because, well, they're going to go up in price, you know? So many people are so heavily reliant on prices to determine whether or not something's a good buy. So if something's been going up for a long time, people in their head say, well, it must be a good buy, without really understanding the fundamentals and why something is priced where it is. And that's something you'll learn with time. But fundamentals are uniquely key right now during a time when people are selling off their less desired pieces. All of the fat is going to get trimmed, and the real things that are desirable and need to be kept within collections will be kept there. So whenever you go and buy something or go after new cards, ask yourself, why would someone buy this? Why are you buying this? That's why collectors have an edge on the rest of the hobby. Like, if you're truly a collector, you're probably going to do better than an investor, because a lot of the decisions you make are going to be based on a lot of these fundamentals, and you'll understand why you're buying something because you understand what got you to that point when a lot of other people might not. And so that's why it pays to be a collector rather than an investor, or a little bit of both, of course, as most people are. The second tip would be that past prices are overrated entirely. Obviously, you should look at them, you should note what they were, you should understand how different segments, different markets, different cards have been moving. But to base your decisions based on past prices is pretty stupid, because again, that's what I was just talking about. Fundamentals are key now. Fundamentals should always be key in terms of what makes something desirable, right? So prices don't make something desirable. Whether or not something is going up, going down, that doesn't make it desirable. So you should really focus on that, because a lot of people ask themselves this question: is this overpriced or underpriced? If you look at a graph of something that's been falling for a really long time, and you say, well, is it overpriced or underpriced? You're probably going to say underpriced, just because you're like, well, it's fallen, like maybe it goes back up, right? But what if it's properly priced, right? What if that's the case? People often think stuff goes up, stuff goes down, stuff can stay still. And so with an example like this messy 2004 UK Traditions, this is down 80% in the last year. And, well, I guess since the peak, so it's a little over a year. Essentially, a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, that's a 2004 messy rookie card that's down 80%. That's probably a good buy, right? When in reality, that's a 2006 card that PSA graded wrong. And so really, it's even overpriced at being at down 80%. In my opinion, should be down even more. But to each their own. There's a lot of people out there that own them that don't really wish they own them. And to those people, I am very sympathetic, and I don't mean to, try to make a card lower price or say that a card's even worse than it is, but that's just truly what I believe with this card. So a lot of people might look at this and say, oh, down 80% is probably underpriced, when in reality, I think it's severely overpriced. And so you have to understand more than just the chart. Another tip would be, don't overreact during this downturn in the market in terms of people going outside of their comfort zone. I see a lot of people at card shows, and I see it on YouTube because, that's where I watch this content. And a lot of people are saying, hey, I want to buy mantles. I want to buy Mickey Mantle. That's the guy. Baseball, they got a lot of old collectors. They've been around a while. We know there's tons of collectors for this, so I want one. And to an extent, I understand it. You're saying, well, this collector base has strong hands. They're known to really care about this, so I'm going to hop in, right? And that's not the worst thing to do. It makes sense. But during a time when everyone's running for the hills, you're running for the hills. You're doing the same exact thing, right? And so it can be a bad decision. Even if you're making what is theoretically the right decision, you might be making it the wrong time. And so don't overreact to going out and buying players that you know or care nothing about because their market's held up a little better. And so, I gotta chase what isn't falling as hard. And that can also be a problem too. You could be chasing again, just as people chase for prism bases, there could be people chasing now other things that in a year or two, we look back and say, man, people were really chasing that. Like, it still happens. So know what you know, stay within that zone, know what you don't know and stay away from that. Understand your core beliefs, what you think about the market, how you think this is going to change. Maybe you do believe in Mickey Mantle long term, and if you do, then if that's your core belief, then I'm not one to dissuade you from that. You do whatever you feel is fit. But as long as you are helping guide yourself, that is the most important point. A lot of people just follow what other people say and do. And honestly, a lot of other people in the card market, they say and do stupid stuff because they're people too. They're people just like you and me and everyone. They make mistakes. They sometimes hit, just like everyone. Most people in the hobby are no better or worse than yourself. So understand that and have some faith in yourself. Do what you think's right. Next is going to be dollar cost averaging into the market at this point. And really, you should have been doing this all the time. A lot of the reason that people are so, arms up in the air freaking out when the market goes down is because they just overexpose themselves at the top. And really, if you're dollar cost averaging, that's never really going to be a problem. You will dollar cost average in at the top and you will buy at the top, but you'll also buy right through the lows. And that's what you really want to do long term, to be able to just have a stable foundation and, economic environment around you. I tend to like this clip from Zombieland.
Who wants to go first?
I really want to impress Wichita. But it would be in direct violation of Rule 17, maybe the most important rule of all. Don't be a hero. Why don't you take this one?
And I think that's important because it's a mistake that I make sometimes with certain items I buy. There will be something that just drops that I'm like, man, that's just dropping too low. In reality, should I buy more? Probably not, but will I sometimes buy more? Yes, just because that's a mistake that some of us make. Same thing goes with the market. You see it dropping, so you're like, oh, I gotta go in. Oh, I gotta spend. I gotta get this back up. When in reality, no one knows where this is going. So take it slow. Just, understand that you have time. A lot of people were sold on this idea of cards that you have no time. You gotta get in now. NFTs, same thing. You gotta get in now. You're gonna miss it. Most things in life, you got time. So just relax, enjoy yourself, and just build up stuff that you care about and think are worthwhile. Fifth tip is going to be to learn and explore now more than ever. So essentially, you should really be utilizing the knowledge that you've gained over however long you've been in the soccer hobby and also learning as much as you can now, because this is the best time, at least relative to recent years, to go ahead and be able to put this knowledge to use, right? You can get more out of this money that you're going to spend, and in addition to that, you're going to spend it at a better point in the market. Now, I don't know how the next years are going to play out for soccer cards. That's all, just fairy dust, and people can tell you whatever they want. But I know that you're going to be buying at lower prices than you were a year or even sometimes 2 years ago. So if that's the case, then you're better off utilizing what you've learned and learning more right now more than ever. And that's encouraging. That should be fun. Obviously, do this at your own pace. Do what you think is worthwhile and makes sense for you. But this is going to be the most important time to go ahead and put this knowledge to use. Really not debatable. There's tons of information out there, and there's more and more resources every day to learn about the soccer card market, so you can get as much of a step up on other people as you ever could before. And so the sixth tip here is to always buy and sell. Even during a low market, you might say, well, why should I be selling? Well, unless you have tons and tons of money to keep throwing into it and you really don't want to, even then, I still feel like it makes sense to sell. You can always get more money to then employ back on the market. So during a time when the market's hot, there will be certain things that are even more hot, right? There's always going to be, within a market itself, there's always going to be things that are too high and too low within that market, right? So even if you're at a peak, even if you're at a valley, there's always going to be things that you could trade and move around into better items. And personally, I've been doing that as long as I've been in soccer cards. I've done it the whole time, because there's always going to be something that, hey, this has stayed really high or maybe even gained, while this other thing's fallen significantly, and I like this other thing that's fallen significantly, and I don't care that much about the thing that's gained, so I'm going to swap. And that's just what you do. You continue to do that, and it helps you to be able to have more money to then put back into the hobby, to buy better things, to buy collectibles you care about more, and that's really the point. So even if we're in a down market, I mean, I wouldn't say sell and then keep that money on the side, right? Unless you need to use it or something. But if you're going to sell, you know, put it back into something else that you like more. And there's always opportunities to do that, even if the market's down. Then the 7th tip is going to be to remember what was. Just understand that there was a day and age where people were spending, you know, thousands of dollars on Messi and Ronaldo. 2014 Prism PSA 10s, right? And sure, that was a mania, that was a crazy moment in time, but now you can find Messi and Ronaldo rookie cards for much less than those prices. And that's just to say that you never really know how the market's going to play out, but eyeballs come and go. You know, at one point soccer was the focal point of the hobby. It's not now, but it certainly can again. And just remember that, it certainly can again. Now, will the returns be what they were then? Will they be better? Will they be worse? There's no way to know. But eyeballs move, and one day they'll be back. So when they're back, how will you optimize that? How will you take advantage of that? Well, you have to buy things now that you think you can then take advantage of when that time comes. You can't just wait until that time comes and say, dang it, I was not prepared for this at all. No, this is your preparation time. Whenever you feel like you need to prepare, however you feel like you want to go about that, it's up to you. But just remember, this is the prep time. This is what we do. Then for tip number 8, I have keep digging. This is along the lines of learning, like I mentioned earlier, but this is even more in particular to the market and the card market, because there's so many different platforms out there, right? There's eBay, PWCC, Golden, you got Heritage, you got Instagram, you got whatnot, you got Twitter sales, you got Discord posts. There's so many different methods of buying items that I feel like that's also something that contributed to the fall of soccer cards, along with other things. But there's just so many different platforms you can buy and sell on that the eyeballs aren't going to be on everything, right? There's going to be stuff that just kind of, you know, slip through the cracks. Like I've had many things I can note lately that's been that way for me. And so basically there are deals to be had, of course. In any market, up or down, same thing exists. There are going to be deals to be had, especially when there's this many buyers and sellers of these cards. So keep on just enjoying the grind and digging deeper into different methods of buying and purchasing cards, because the more opportunities you give yourself out there, the more ability you're going to have to then go and find deals and make the most of the market at hand. And then tip number 9 is to zoom out. And I know this is pretty cliche during a down market, but realistically, I truly believe this, because too many people get caught up in the day-to-day. You know, we're all on social media, we're all on whatever app here or there, we're all just plugged in constantly. So people are just way too zoomed in on everything. You know, whenever Bitcoin was mooning or Bitcoin's going down, people just freak out and sit there and they're just so attached. You just gotta learn to detach a little bit from it all and understand what your core beliefs are for the market, right? For me, with soccer cards, I believe in soccer cards to a ridiculous degree. That's just me. Everyone has their own opinions, but I still believe that, if not believe that more now than I did a year or two ago. And prices are lower, and that seems crazy, and most people would say that that's stupid. And you know, I understand that, but realistically, that's how I think. And so just because prices are down doesn't mean I'm just going to run for the hills and pack it all in. No, I'm more excited than ever, to be honest with you, because I see the core. I see the people here. I see the people that have stayed. I see the personalities getting involved. I see the pathway for soccer to grow, both as a collectible worldwide and as a sport in America. Like, all these steps are in place, and it takes time. You know, I don't know what people expect from any sort of investment, but it takes time, right? You can't just buy something and have it be worth 50, 100%, double, triple. I mean, like, I think really it's just tampering back on what the market can expect, right? The market's been conditioned to expect ridiculous returns at this point, and that's never going to work out. And these ups and downs are inevitable. You see it all the time in markets. Markets always do this, right? That's why there's the joke of buy high, sell low, because that's what people do. You chase returns at the high, because whenever you buy something at the high and you see it going up, it makes you so happy. You're instantly gratified and patted on the back and said, you did the right thing. The thing you bought went up in price, right? It's easy to do that. It's easy to buy into highs. When markets are going down and you do your research and you buy something and it goes down in price, that's not easy to keep doing. That's not easy, but that's where the real money's made. It's where the real wealth is transferred, and it's really where you can capitalize the most. In a time like this, obviously, do what you like. This is just how I feel. I'm just a man on the internet talking. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Would appreciate it a lot. If you want to see more videos like this as soon as we go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.